This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of The Empty Chair. This is a live podcast for the addict that didn't know recovery was possible. May is Mental Health Month, so we're doing a focus tonight on both recovery and mental health and the importance of taking care of oneself. And tonight's show is dedicated to my sister Kathy, who took her life this year, January 5th. Who didn't know that recovery was possible, and also to the 67 individuals that took their life today in the United States of America. Those are what our statistics are at today. I just want to give a quick overdose update for the Merrimack Valley. We like to keep everyone informed of what's going on. So in Haverhill, Lawrence, Methuen, and North Andover, we have had 179 overdoses with 15 fatalities, and that has been since January through April 30th. And these numbers of overdoses are numbers that we respond to. We know a lot of people are carrying Narcan right now, and those ones do not get reported to us. So, and those numbers that I just gave to you are the reasons why we continue to have this show and do events and reach out and speak about addiction and mental health, because those numbers are still too high to be reporting. So I just want to take a minute to thank our sponsors for making the show possible. You'll see their flyers, their banners go throughout the night. And these are individuals that support us and that make this show possible for us. And also by having your banner up there, the funds that we get, it goes into an account so that if someone needs scholarship to sober living after treatment, we're able to scholarship individuals. So if you see someone's banner and if you do business with them, make sure you let them know that you did see their banner on the Merrimack Valley Prevention and Substance Abuse Project page. So I just want to say thank you to Bob and Andrea Surrett of Alternative Healthcare, Fritz and his family from Atkinson Flooring, Sid Harris of Discovering Methuen, Enterprise Bank, both Methuen and Andover. We love you guys. The Essex County Outreach Team, which is Officer Danny Sinclair in Newburyport. Thank you for all that you do. Essex Flooring, which is Fred Orazio, Greater Lawrence Family Health Center. The Haven of Hope, which is our good friend Saeed Coates. Lawrence Methuen Community Coalition. Meta Addiction Services. Thank you, Matt Simpson, and all those that work there. Title Boxing of North Andover. I want a big thank you to Lauren McCauley and Patrick Kelly for always supporting our mission and for always helping us. And lastly, the R&R Welding and Fabrication. And not lastly, my lastly is the guy behind that mirror right there. A big shout out to Lou Blassie, the best producer, and for always believing in our mission that recovery is possible, and for taking time to be here with us. We appreciate you. Upcoming events, again, this weekend, we have an amazing event going on in the Greater Lawrence Technical School, which is 57 River Road in Andover, Mass. It's part 2 of Heal Your Brain and Your Body Will Follow. And we have these 2 amazing individuals, plus one that will be joining us on Saturday from Blue Lotus. And it's going to be an amazing opportunity to just really dive deep into mental health, taking care of your own and understanding those that struggle with that are around you. So you want to come to an amazing event. It's this Saturday at the Greater Lawrence Technical Voc. 9:30 to 10 is networking, and 10 to 11:30 is their presentation. We'll have it opened for questions, and then we're giving away some free raffles. And those free raffles are amazing gifts. We got a free haircut to the Chop Shop in Haverhill. We got $100 towards Botox or a facial. We have an ice cream one. We have gelato. So come on down. These are free giveaways just to kick off the summer and to let the community know how much we appreciate everyone for being there. So that's this Saturday. Also, every week, the Circle of Hope meets on Monday evenings. This is a family support group held by Fran and Phil Leahy. And speaking of Fran and Phil Leahy, today is Fran's birthday, so happy birthday, Fran. And Phil turned 75 a week and a half ago. So happy belated birthday to both of them. But they have a family support group that meets every Monday evening in Sanborn Hall at the Methuen Police Department. We meet at 6:30. If you need more information, contact Phil, and he can be reached at 978-886-2949. Tuesday evenings at Ray of Light Cafe in Haverhill, they have Celebrate Recovery, and they also have a Recovery Coach Academy that will be starting in June. I'm not sure if all their slots are filled on that. So if you want to attend the Recovery Coach Academy, you can reach out to Nicole at 857-361-9913. The Phoenix Gym is another one. They have a full schedule listed on their Facebook page of all the classes and opportunities to get involved. All you need to attend a class is to be 24 hours sober. And a reminder, we have, she hates when I call it aerobics because it's not aerobics, but it's like dance, fun, and groove. We have every Tuesday and Wednesday, not Zumba, but because we range from 18 to 80 in our class. And you go at your own pace and do your own thing. But we offer that at Sanborn Hall on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Great way to move energy. And that's 5:30 to 6:30 with a $10 drop-in fee. So those are all our announcements tonight. You are looking at 46 years of recovery between him and I. So we are here to let you know that recovery is possible. So I'm going to hand this off to Vincent. He's going to share his experience, strength, and hope with us this evening. And then we'll jump into mental health and a little bit about Blue Lotus. So thank you so much for being here with me this evening.
Thank you. That was beautiful. So my name is Vincent, and I am a person in recovery. Every time I share my story, and I have to admit it's been a while since I've done this, so I might be a little bit rusty.
That's
but
okay.
Every time I begin to share my story, I always like to acknowledge that in my family, I have two representations of the polarity of addiction and recovery. And so I think of one end of that spectrum is my uncle Bobby, who he died of a heroin overdose in his 20s and was left on the doorstep of my grandparents' house, right? And so that's my mother's brother, right? And I never got to meet him. And there's pictures of him that my family has, and everyone is always saying how you're so much like Uncle Bobby, right? And I guess I inherited some aspects of who he was, but apparently he was a lovely person. So that's, the one end of the spectrum of what addiction can do. And then the other end of the spectrum is my grandfather, my mother's father, Dominic, and he died with decades of sobriety after, years of alcoholism, so much so that he even refused any kind of painkillers when he was dying of cancer. So that's how much it meant to him, and really changed his entire life. So those are the two representations that I have in my mind, and I feel as if now I have a better understanding at this stage in my life of sort of both ends of those that sort of spectrum. So I guess I'll just start in the beginning is so I was born in the suburbs of New Jersey, and right across from Manhattan. So we always saw the skyline, right? That was sort of like something that was always kind of looming over. And I for all intents and purposes, superficially, my upbringing was really good, right? Like middle class family, didn't really want for anything as it pertains to like material possessions. But I sort of liken it to the imagery from the movie Blue Velvet. In the beginning scene, there's a guy mowing a lawn, and it's this really idyllic suburban scene. And then it sort of scans underneath the dirt, and you see all these insects and everything. And so that was kind of what like the household was like for me in my early childhood. So there's my father and my mother, my older brother. And I say that sort of representation because my father was he was like a very like aggressive man, right? And didn't really display a lot of emotionality except for anger and rage. That was sort of what he vacillated between, and occasional moments of tenderness, which was very confusing as a child, So I have to say, like, I kind of lived in fear of this person, right? And so that was sort of my upbringing in a way was always kind of being sure that I didn't rattle the cage too much. So I didn't want to like push the boundaries, but I was sort of a hyperactive kid. So it's kind of challenging to not do that. I always say that my first addiction was adrenaline. So, for as long as I can remember, I was into going fast, right? So like skateboarding, playing sports, all of those things were like super appealing to me. Anything I can do where I would just increase my heart rate. Like I love to do it and I wanted to do it all the time, right? So hard time sitting, still in school, like that was really challenging for me. So, just again, very kind of regular upbringing. And then, home life was challenging and I kind of did everything I could to not be at home. So spend time with friends and skateboarding, that sort of thing. Around the age of 12, I had my first drink, and I remember it was with friends on a train track in town, and an older brother of one of my friends had purchased malt liquor, 40-ounce malt liquor. I remember the terrible first drink. And and I just can remember the feeling. And I know people say in meetings like this sense of like, I have arrived, right? And the fear that I experienced about wanting to be at home and the like lack of emotionality that I experienced, like it kind of dissipated. Right. And I felt this sense of like comfort within myself that I didn't know I could experience. Right. And so, so from then on, at 12, it was kind of hard to sort of come by that, kind of thing. But I tried to the best of my ability, and I hung out with a lot of older people. So access to alcohol and weed was readily available. It could have been. And so that was kind of life for a while. And, things kind of moved forward in a similar way into high school and doing just kind of occasional experimentation on the weekends and partying and that sort of thing. And it wasn't until I was 16, and I remember I was at my first girlfriend's house. I had slept over the night before, and I remember her mother came to get me because we had to sleep in separate rooms, right? You can't sleep in the same room. So I was like sleeping in the basement, right? And she was in her room, and her mother came to get me in the basement, was like, hey, like, I have to take you home now, right? I was 16. I didn't have a license or anything. She's like, I have to take you home now. Your family called. And it was really bizarre. And I was like, I'm not really sure like what happened. I kind of thought maybe I was in trouble, or, maybe like someone found like stash of weed or something like that, whatever. Right. And it was just like really kind of a bizarre interaction with not a lot of clarity. And so I just remember this like sense of like immense like uncertainty, right? Not really fear, but like kind of like a mild anxiety. And so I got to my house, and at the time my brother's girlfriend, her brother, came to drive me, who I didn't really know him that well. So it was kind of weird. He's like, we have to go to the hospital. Your dad is in the hospital, and didn't really say much else other than that. He's like, well, we have to go see him. Your family's all there, so I'm going to take you. So it's like sitting in this car with like basically a stranger, someone I didn't really know that well. And we're kind of sitting in silence, and, was like, okay, whatever. Like, so my dad's in the hospital. Like maybe he hurt himself. He was, a general contractor. Maybe he was building something and injured himself. And I remember I got to the hospital, walked in through the doors, kind of like around the narrow sort of like hallways there, kind of like a maze. And we got into a room, and I just remember very vividly the image of like my father lying on a bed, my mother, my brother on either side crying. And he was just like pale, and what had happened was he was just working outside and had a sudden heart attack. And then that was it. And it was really interesting influx of emotions, because I initially felt obviously really like overcome with sadness. And then I immediately wanted to leave. I didn't want to be there. So I went and stayed with my cousin for a while. And I just remember over time, the feeling of sadness was like this strange sense of like liberation, right? Like I was like, okay, like now I can do what I want to do, right? And it was very conflicting, because I felt like some guilt around that feeling of being like sad, but also like I feel like I have freedom now, right? I feel like I didn't necessarily have to be in so much fear, right? And which is very confusing, and I didn't really express that to anyone. It was kind of this like silent messaging that I kept to myself. And so from that point on, after my father died, it was pretty much off to the races, in the sense of I started experimenting with other drugs, what we would identify as like harder drugs, and it became a focal point of my life in a lot of ways, right? And what I realized now was I was just trying to not feel how I felt over that loss, right? And all of the confusion that I experienced in terms of that relationship. I didn't have any clarity around it, and I didn't really understand how to convey emotions or how to even really experience them fully. So, drugs and alcohol are a really great way to not, feel those things or even really think about them. So I was kind of after oblivion, and so that was pretty much my life for an extended period of time. And, I always like to kind of put everything in this like short, like synopsis is like, I did a lot of impressive things with my life, right? Like I lived in a foreign country for a number of years teaching English as a second language. I graduated, from undergraduate university. I played in a band and toured around the country and put out an album on a record label, right? So like I did all of these, like superficially, someone were looking at like, wow, you've lived this like storied life.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is I was never actually like present for any of it, right? Because in any of those experiences, I was either in some form of intoxication, or if not in that form of intoxication, trying to find the way to get to that place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my attention was always just deviated and moving towards when can I get, the next, fix or drink or whatever it was. So next thing I knew, I guess I sort of like woke up from a haze, and I'm like, 27 years old. I'm living with a woman who I know somewhat well, but like it just seemed like it kind of just happened.
Yeah.
I'm in graduate school, not really sure how that happened. I basically have a full blown addiction to opiates, and that had sort of progressed and started in my, like, I would say with a little bit of experimentation in my early 20s. And I didn't really understand much about what happens in the sort of spiral of like withdrawal. Like I didn't have a clear understanding of what happens, neurobiologically and physiologically. And so I just would wake up sometimes and not have anything and feel so sick. And I couldn't understand like what was happening to me. And I just remember being on campus one day in grad school and just experiencing what I realize now is like severe withdrawal symptoms, and just feeling like I was so hopeless. And I wanted to stop using, but I felt like I couldn't stop using because I felt so sick, and just a barrage of emotions associated with that. And no one really knew in my life, right? Like I had dealers that knew, and occasional people that I would use with, but I used in isolation, right? And a lot of this was very like hidden and secretive. Like no one in my family knew, right? Close friends maybe had a vague understanding that I liked to party, but it was like not something that I was like, promoting. And so I just remember being on campus and just feeling sort of so hopeless. And I called one of these like like a helpline kind of thing to get like you into treatment. I like found it on Google or something, right? I'm not even sure. I'm really not even sure what the organization is, that I called. And I spoke to this really sweet gentleman, and I told him what was going on. I told him how long I'd been using for. I told him what sort of like what my thought process was, what I was feeling. He's like, you need to go into treatment and you need to go right now. And I was like, but like no one in my family knows, and like I'm in grad school, and like I have class tonight, and he's like, you have to go. He's like, I'm telling you, like this is bad, and you really need to get help right now. And so I was like, okay. He's like, I'll call your family and let them know and everything. And he's like, I'll set it all up for you, and you just reach back out to me. He's like, I'll give you my number. You just got to call me, and then we'll get your information and we'll go from there. And I was like, great. Never called him. And so, more time passed like that. And, around the time of my 28th birthday, my grandmother, who is my mother's mother, she passed away. And there was something that I associated in my mind about the loss of my grandmother with, re-experiencing loss of my father, and it's just a lot of complex emotions sort of resurfacing. And I didn't understand that connection then, but I sort of get it now. And it got to a point where I was like, I just don't think I want to experience what I'm experiencing anymore. And so I made a sort of impulsive decision to try to end my own life. And what ended up happening was I woke up and I was in a hospital bed, lying next to a person with a CPAP machine. I thought I was on a spaceship because it's like, it seems pretty intense. And so I was in a hospital and they had, pumped my stomach. Apparently I was, unconscious for a period of time and came to, and I don't know how many days after, that was, but yeah. And the people at the hospital were very kind, and they were basically like, you need to go into treatment for substance use. Like, like this is just a hospital. We can't really help you here. Like, this is going to be what's going to be most beneficial to you. And I was like, at that point, like we talk about the bottom. It's like, that was what I felt like was my bottom. I was like, I really can't conceive of how this would get worse than this. I mean, and so, so I ended up going to treatment in New Jersey, and it was rough. It was a rough facility. It was like, I like Jersey Shore, like super small place. And like, it wasn't like, the way you think about when the show and movies, like in 28 Days with Sandra Bullock, right? It was like, no pool, you know what I mean? There's no, like, it was like rough and tumble, but I liked it because it was really focused on recovery. That was the focal point, right? It didn't matter what we were doing. This was why you were here. It didn't matter that there was like no pool, that you're sharing a room with 5 other people. It was like, we're here for recovery. And through that, I learned about Alcoholics Anonymous, and people would come in and they would share their stories with us. And then I would get to talk to people, and people would talk about having, recovery and experiencing that for years. And it just seemed really impressive to me. I didn't know anything about AA. I just knew that my grandfather was a part of it, and he used to have medallions that he would play with sometimes. And so while I was there, I was like, something needs to change, right? I can't continue doing what I'm doing. And so my aunt, who lives in New Hampshire, she came to visit with my uncle, and my aunt is like one of my favorite people. And she was like, you can come stay with us, like come stay with us and like focus on going to meetings and like just like getting yourself better, and then worrying about what the next steps are in due time. And I was like, perfect. So it was like, I felt so fortunate and blessed to have them in my life and to be able to do that. So that's exactly what I did. I moved to New Hampshire, and I just focused on recovery. And I was, I think like any good, addict, we tend to go to extremes. And I did. I was going to like, 3, 4, sometimes 5 meetings a day. I was trying to like immerse myself in that. And I started working with a sponsor who's like, to this day is still someone that I look at as a spiritual teacher more than anything else. Nice. Because for me, I know a lot of people look at like old timers and they, sponsors, and it's like, the sit down, shut up, take the cotton and put it in your ears, or put it in your mouth or whatever. Right. Yeah. But like, I didn't need that. Like, I felt like I had that already from like my father, and I needed someone who could show me compassion. That was another man that could show me compassion and understanding and unconditional love and support. And this person did that. Amen. And so we did work together, and that was it. And I was just really invested in recovery. And it was through the 12 steps that I got into meditation and yoga, and that's what really changed my life more than anything else. And I became more understanding of my emotional experience and how to convey it and how to express it and how to be okay with being a person who has emotions and being able to be aware of them and not trying to stuff them or shut them down or numb out to them. And and so that was sort of my experience. And through that, I was working with counselors, and I was like, I want to help people who are struggling with the similar things that I've struggled with, and I want to be of service. So in yoga, we have this concept of seva, which is selfless service, right? Where we let go of our egoic self, and we offer support unconditionally to others. And that's an important facet of my life. And I was like, what better to do something for a job that is that, that allows me to help other people, and to find fulfillment in the work that I do. And so then I went to graduate school and, got a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling and dance movement therapy. Amen. And so now I'm able to offer that support to others, and it's amazing. It's amazing work, and it's challenging, and it's sometimes an amazing mirror to see other people reflected back to me and to be like, oh, okay, there's like these like areas that like, it's like, you're not done with the work yet. And so like, that's, it allows me to be more diligent about my own healing and self-development, you know,
Amen.
because I want to be better, not just for myself and my family, but also and my friends, but also for the people that I serve. And so it's kind of been an unbelievable sort of progression to that. If you were to ask me, you know, when I was like 18, what I thought I would be doing with my life, it wouldn't be this. And just to sort of wake up every day and experience not just like gratitude in the sense of like I'm writing down a list of things that I'm grateful for, but to actually have the felt experience of feeling a full heart that is, you know,
Amen.
entire appreciation for my life as it is now.
Yes.
And so, you know, things are really incredible. And again, like I said, they're challenging and it's sometimes hard to do things like this and to be vulnerable and to be expressive. I still find challenges when it comes to that, when it comes to talking about emotions. I notice a part of myself still wanting to stifle that and to be quiet and to become insular or angry and to like really allow that to just be and like to not be expressive. And then, you know, I sort of am able to come out of it, you know, a lot faster than I used to be.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
so the dance movement therapy,
Yeah.
is that one-on-one or is that with a group?
It both. It can
Really?
be either or. Yeah.
I can imagine with a one-on-one how vulnerable and transparent one would have to be
Yeah.
to even agree to do that. But dancing and music are like my vice.
Yeah.
I need to get out of my head. Let's just move the energy.
Yeah, exactly. And actually one of my favorite you know, approaches to dance movement therapy is actually where we don't one-on-one with another person. It's like a client where we're not using music.
Wow.
And the person is just allowing themselves to have intuitive expression, usually based on a particular issue or topic that they might be having. And I just act as a witness.
Right.
So I'm just observing them as they're having their you know, unfolding of their experience. And they're doing it with eyes closed to sort of remove the self-consciousness and to have like internal focus. And so, it can be very, very powerful as long as we can get out of the self-consciousness. I think once people kind of can remove that and really tap into it and understand that like we all move, like that's like our first language. And if we can remember that and to kind of move away some of the self-criticism or judgment or embarrassment that we feel, it can be like really beautiful and healing.
And dance move, it's not just used for addiction, right? It's mental health. It's whatever it is that you want to move. So it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm someone who's in AA and I'm going to try this. Like anyone can try it, right?
Anyone can do
Traumas.
it. And anyone can do it. And, you know, like and it's like beneficial even for folks who don't necessarily have like mental or emotional like challenges or addictions. If even people have like physiological issues and it's a really, and it's also a beautiful way to connect. So when you do it with groups, I did a practicum when I was in graduate school working with adults with developmental disability, and doing like dance movement therapy with them was amazing. And just to see people who are like, you know, nonverbal and like, you know, like really like sort of, you could tell it really feeling enclosed and insular and just allowing them to like feel really expansive and open is so beautiful.
So 10, 11 years ago, when you were using opioids, was it heroin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
so
and
painkillers. It wasn't quite fentanyl at that point. No relapses.
No, like a recurrence.
Like you didn't go through treatment and come out and start using. Like you have been sober. So that is just so amazing to hear. And like I always tell people, relapse does not have to be part of your journey. And your true testimony that it doesn't and didn't. What makes you so different from everyone that will sit here and say, oh yeah, I've relapsed 15 times, 25 detoxes, blah, blah, blah.
I think finding purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a difference.
Right.
I don't think it's a difference. Like, I don't think I'm unique or special in any way in relationship to that. But I think it's more about like, I think I did, particularly as it pertains to like my day-to-day life, I think I felt very unfulfilled in things that I was doing. And I think early in recovery, there was a lot of that, like just kind of working sort of menial jobs and feeling kind of directionless. And so when I started practicing yoga and I did training to become a yoga teacher. So I was always moving towards the next thing that I found fulfillment in.
And you never went back to New Jersey. You came to New Hampshire and
just to
visit.
To visit. Yeah.
And what's it like going back there when you see where you came from?
It's It's like it can be sort of like melancholic, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like it's sort of sad and uncomfortable in a way. And I still think there's like, like a big thing I sort of reflect on a lot is like I have never been to visit my father's grave. And that's like something that I feel really challenged by. And that's like sort of a next goal that I have because there's a little bit of resistance there and I'm not really sure what it is, but so it's sometimes it feels a little bit hard to go back sometimes and a little bit uncomfortable. So yeah. And my family still like lives in well, actually a lot of them have just moved, but a lot of my family lives in a similar area.
Really?
Yeah. So.
And do they support your recovery
100%,
and everything that you've done with your life?
Yes, 100%.
Beautiful.
Yeah, my family is like absolutely amazing in that sense. Like, like my brother, my mom, and like my aunt that I had mentioned, like, cause we're Italian, so it's like lots of cousins and like, but like everyone is, super, super supportive and super understanding. And like,
so
it's really cool to see like too, because I think I never thought of myself as someone who would like be able to like help other people like in my family. And I notice that there's more of that happening. And I think that's a really amazing gift, right? Because I was always the person who was needing support, and now it's like I'm able to offer that to others, and that feels very empowering.
That is so really cool.
Yeah.
So if we have someone that's struggling tonight and they're listening to us, what would you tell them if they're high and they can't stop? How would you address that issue with them?
The first thing I would say would be to reach out to someone who can be supportive unconditionally, and not necessarily to try to find a solution to whatever you're feeling challenged by, but just to listen. Yeah. And just someone that that won't be judgmental, because I think a lot of us feel stigmatized by judgment, and I think there's lots of people who want to offer non-judgmental support, and so just being able to find where those people are.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hear Miss Kimberly share some statistics about mental health and talk about Blue Lotus and what to expect this coming weekend. We'll be right back.
Haven of Hope is a faith-based 12-step recovery home for women seeking a loving and structured lifestyle to help them persevere over addiction. Our sober living house offers women an opportunity to gain life skills, coping mechanisms, and personal growth so they may return to their home or working field as productive members of society. Haven of Hope's approach is based on fostering a structured, faith-based life with a core component being the 12 steps from the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, for with God, all things are possible. Contact Haven of Hope at havenofhopemethuen.org or call 978-258-3982. That's 978-258-3982, or visit us at 82 Union Street in Methuen.
Hi there. My name's Phil Leahy, and I do the Empty Chair show here. And as much as Fran and I have enjoyed doing this show, our real passion is with where it all began, the Circle of Hope, my support group for the families of addicts. I learned a long time ago that dealing with an active addict is just too difficult. So we invite you to join our group, the Circle of Hope. Give me a call, 978-886-2949, and you'll see our banner on the show anyway. And give me a call, find out what it's all about. If you don't think you're ready to sit into a group, Fran and I always invite people over to the house, and we sit down, have a one-on-one, and we talk about a plan you'll have to set up, how to deal with someone in active addiction, or just give you a chance to vent. So, if you or someone has dealing with someone in active addiction, reach out, give a call, take the first step. I promise you that it won't make it easier, but once you understand what it's all about, you'll be able to deal with it a little bit better. So again, 978-886-2949. Just ask for Phil. I'm always available 24/7. Thanks, and we'll see you on the Empty Chair. Bye-bye.
So welcome back to the second half of our show. And again, thank you for your vulnerability, your transparency, and I look forward to Saturday to seeing what you're going to present to us in the community. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And now it's a privilege to meet this beautiful lady right here,
Thank you.
Kimberly.
Thank you.
And she is a therapist and also the owner of Blue Lotus. So she's going to share a little bit about mental health, why she got into what she's doing, and also some upcoming events with them. So
Yeah, thanks for
take it
having
away.
us. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And
Yes.
this is great.
And it's
So-
a great segue into Saturday, which we couldn't have
Absolutely.
planned this anymore. I
I
just think
know,
the stars
perfect.
lined up.
yeah,
with
How
absolutely.
this all happened. So
Absolutely.
welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
So yeah, I looked up some stats on mental health and kind of where we're at now. Since COVID, and things have really shifted. As I'm sure we're all aware how much COVID has impacted people's
Yes.
mental health. Not only
Mhm.
just things like depression and anxiety, but also substance use has gone up a lot too,
Yes.
with people being isolated in home. So I went on and just wanted to find out what the most recent 2023 numbers so far. And what it came up with was about 21% of the adults experience at least one mental health illness. And that's about 50 million people,
Wow.
have at least one diagnosis,
Yeah.
and several have many more. And 55% of those people have never received treatment.
Wow.
Right. And so I think that's kind of astonishing.
Mhm.
A big part of that is people are having a hard time accessing care. Right.
Accessing care
Yeah.
and stigma. They're afraid to say
Absolutely.
something. Yes.
I think stigma is slowly coming around. It's you're hearing people more and more not afraid to say, "Hey, I have a therapist," or I'm going to go get help for this. And thankfully,
You're right.
because it used to be the unspoken word.
Yes.
So, but there's a lot of reasons why people can't get care today, right? We have insurance issues, affordability,
Yep.
right? Just lack of awareness of where to go, which is why we're hopefully helping, people get the word out now,
Yeah.
with other options like what we can bring to the table. And a lot of people say they just don't have time, which
Yeah.
like it's
Make time,
crazy, right?
Get your
Make
mental
time
health.
for your mental health. Like it's going
Yeah.
to impact every aspect of your
It
life. So,
really does.
yeah.
I saw that New Hampshire's getting a large sum of money to focus on mental health and substance misuse. Because I honestly, I
Mhm.
live in New Hampshire, but I work in Mass, and I feel bad for anyone that lives in New Hampshire
Mm.
that needs services, because you folks offer nothing. And it
Mhm.
just blows
It's
my
very
mind. And it's
different.
the state is live free or die.
It
And
is.
I mean, even when it comes to, when I think about sectioning someone, we can walk into court in Massachusetts and section, and
Mhm.
I'd say 70% of the time, the judge and the clinician are like, yes.
Mhm.
New Hampshire,
Not
it's
the
called a
case.
complaint and a prayer. And I'm sitting there
Yep.
praying, yes, please
Yeah,
go
they've
through.
taken a lot of those things away,
And
it's very
it's
hard
just-
to get.
It
into treatment.
really, really is. So I'm hoping that the money that Governor Sununu is getting for the state of New Hampshire, that this will really help individuals focus on their mental health and also their substance
I hope so
misuse.
too. I
Yeah.
imagine that money will be sanctioned into all of the community mental health agencies around.
I hope
So
so.
I'm not sure we'll see any of it in a private practice,
Right.
but even just education out there,
Yep.
and more programs and treatment centers and things
Yep.
like that would be really, really helpful for us. So.
Absolutely.
Let's see what else. Right. So 40% in 2020, anxiety and depression went up 40%. So prior
Holy
to
smoke.
COVID,
Yep.
it was at 11.
Wow.
So that is how much COVID really impacted us.
Wow.
Just with not being able to leave your house, not being able to see your family.
Yeah.
So
Mental health, substance misuse, suicides, and divorces all went through the roof.
Mhm,
It really did.
absolutely.
Wow.
Let's see. So 11% of U.S. adults abuse alcohol.
Mhm.
6.8% of illicit drugs.
Mhm.
And of that, only 7% seek treatment.
Wow.
Right. So that's
That's
again, it's like lack of awareness,
Yeah.
right? Or
Mhm.
fear.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. I think fear is the biggest thing. Fear
Yeah.
is what
Mhm.
gripped me. Fear of everything, and fear of asking for help, fear of failing, fear of relapsing, fear of this. So,
Right.
wow,
right.
those are frightening numbers,
Yeah.
which is why we have
absolutely.
events like we're having this Saturday, so that people, I think, the focusing on your mental health, your wellness it's mandatory.
Mhm.
Back before, like it was, if I did something good for myself this month, it was good. like mental health is now a daily practice. It has to
Yeah,
be,
absolutely.
to stay on your A game, because again,
Mhm.
you all just had someone jump off the bridge in New Hampshire yesterday on 293, that ended their life, very young kid, and
Mhm.
it's not stopping, and I heard
Yeah.
that the numbers from the Mayo Clinic,
Mhm.
67 individuals a day in the United States, where our country is just being nailed with it. And you got to think the COVID-19
Mhm.
isolation, never mind already having mental illness prior to COVID-19 coming,
Right.
and what that did to individuals, like it's just mind-boggling. So I'm
Mhm.
just so grateful that you're here to speak openly, talk about your testimony as to why you chose this field, how you got involved, and then what we can expect for this Saturday.
Okay. So my story is quite different from Vincent's.
Yes.
A different background, and that's okay because I still bring a lot to the table.
Amen.
But so for me, so my practice is traditional and alternative healing.
Mhm.
But for I came from a completely different background. I actually was in high tech network marketing
Oh my gosh.
prior to getting into mental health, right?
And how did that switch?
So that switched about 11 years ago. It switched prior to that when I had kids, but 11 years ago, I found myself in the devastating situation of my family falling apart.
Yep.
So I was 20 years married and had 2 young children, and found myself a single parent. And after being a stay-at-home mom for 9 years, right? So I had to figure out, what is my next step? What am I going to do? Right?
Yeah.
How am I going to live? How am I going to survive? How am I going to make money? And, I was just depressed, and, all of those, just totally stuck, fear, just immobilized. Right. And I have a great family, wonderful upbringing. I'm the only child, but my parents were very, very supportive of me. And like, whatever you need, we'll be there. We'll help you, support you. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I sought out a therapist, right? And an energy worker, which it was fairly new for me. My mom was always into alternative healing, and I thought she was crazy. I didn't believe in it. I just always something new that she would bring, home or something, some new thing. And I actually was introduced to alternative healing when my son was about 18 months old, where it switched it for me, where I started to believe. Because my parents had been watching him. I was out, and my son was playing on the living room floor, and the ceiling fan fell out of the ceiling right onto him.
Oh my God.
And so he was taken to the hospital and checked for brain injury and all of that. Thankfully, he was okay. However, he developed a complete phobia of ceiling fans. Right. And he's 18 months old, right? Like, he would just freak out when you would walk into a room and see a ceiling fan. And so my mom, in the nature that she was with her alternative healing, was like, I know just the thing. We have to take him to go get cranial sacral therapy. And I'm like, what? What is that? And I'm like, whatever. I need to do something. Like, we got to get over this. So she took me to her healer, and I put my son in the woman's arms 15 minutes later, with her manipulating his scalp and doing some energy work. I took him home, and he never had another issue with ceiling fans ever. And I was like, wow, okay. I don't know what this is, but it's something. So I started exploring and learning and going to healers myself, and just trying to learn. I found a spiritual teacher. And then when I was going through my divorce, I sought someone out to help heal myself and learning everything I could. And from that, I realized I had to do something in this field to help others so that they didn't feel as broken as I was at that time, and trying to build my life back up. And so I went to grad school. Like I said, I had been in network marketing prior to all of that, but hadn't worked in a long time. So I really had to refigure things out. And I had initially gone for my bachelor's degree in psychology way back when, and just didn't think I wanted to work in the field. So I came full circle.
Wow.
back into it. And
You got back on the path that you jumped off
I
of.
did. I took a little detour. So I got back on. I thought I wanted to go work with children initially
Mhm.
in school. And then in my internship, that I went to my internship to work with kids. And I did my internship at Families in Transition up in New Hampshire.
Mm.
And my supervisor, as awesome as she was like, you know what? I'm going to put you in to work with substance use clients. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I just I didn't feel confident.
Yep.
Right. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I absolutely loved working with that clientele. I just feel like
We are a special breed.
yeah, you're survivors. I mean, there's so much grit, and I just loved it. And so I knew that I had to work with that population,
Nice.
and I knew I had to do something with alternative healing and substance use. And so I wrote my thesis on treating substance use with alternative healing techniques. So then I finished grad school, went into community mental health for a little while, like we all do. Did my due diligence there, and knew I was still limited there to be able to do the work I really wanted to do with clients. And so I had to start my practice. And so Blue Lotus was born from that. And I can pretty much, I integrate it all in our practice now. So we do all kinds of techniques, traditional techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy, EMDR, which we'll be talking about on Saturday.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, I wrote a list because I can't remember all of the things that we possibly do. Brief solution focus therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, dance movement therapy, art therapy, photography therapy. So a lot of different things that are more traditional based.
Yep.
And then I brought to the table all of these alternative things, and I seek out people to come work for me that also do those types of things. So I do past life regression, hypnosis, energy work, auricular acupuncture as well. So, and that's wonderful for
what is
clients. So that is 5 points in the ear that was initially developed. It's called the NADA protocol. It was originally developed for the treatment of opiate addiction.
Okay.
So it's
do you see success with it?
Absolutely. There's actually a lot of research on it. So it can help curb cravings.
Wow.
And,
in lieu of taking like another opioid to curb the craving.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just 5 little
fascinating.
points. 5 little points around the outside of the ear and one in.
Yep.
And it doesn't hurt. And you leave them in for maybe 20 minutes and the client feels completely relaxed.
Yeah.
And just there's a lot of benefits from it. So that was something that I brought to the table, and just a lot of different things. So
is your mom still alive?
Yes, she is.
So
Both my parents are still alive. Oh, they love it.
Because she's like, my little witch doctor has arrived.
She wants to go to like workshops with me, or we put on
Awesome.
workshops, and she's like, oh, I want to go to that. I want to go to that. So
Awesome.
both my parents are still alive, and
Amen.
obviously very proud of what I've accomplished so far.
Right.
And we're still plowing ahead, adding
How
more and
long
more
has
things.
Blue Lotus been in existence?
The 6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
Amen.
Yeah.
And how did we meet this young man to bring him on board?
He filled out a job application.
Right?
He
Indeed.
found me online. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, when I look for people, I want people who have an interest or who are already practicing alternative healing
Nice.
of some sort. And that's what makes my practice very different from others out there,
Nice.
that we do integrate all these different things.
And obviously these are in-person sessions?
Yeah. The majority. You can do some of it, online. Like you can do hypnosis online. You can do EMDR online.
Right.
You can do yoga therapy online. It's just not quite the same,
Yep.
you know?
On the hypnosis piece, if someone, I want to quit smoking, I don't smoke,
Mhm.
but I want to quit smoking, I want to be hypnotized.
Mhm.
Would that be something we would come to you for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really? And what is the
Absolutely.
success rate on that? Do you know?
So it depends. I'm gonna put out there that hypnosis is very successful, but it depends on the person's willpower too. You do
Okay.
have to want to stop smoking.
Yes.
If you don't want to stop smoking and you think a hypnotist is going to take it away from you, it's
Yeah.
not going to happen,
Okay.
right?
Is that the same with eating sugar and all of that?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
There,
fascinating.
you have to want
Yep.
wanted enough, right? I mean,
Yep.
you're working on changing the neural pathways through when you're in that relaxed state and
Yep.
accessing the subconscious, but you still have to have that will,
Right.
right? It's same with addiction, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
it's hard. You can't get over your addiction if you don't want to.
Mm.
Right.
You have to want to,
Yes.
right? So it's so we do a lot of different things. We do workshops.
Awesome. How many therapists work out of there?
There are 8 of us,
Wow.
and I am hiring. So I am
Amen.
looking for 4 more.
Okay.
We're growing.
All right. I am going to let some people know and actually bring applications with you to the event this Saturday. I wanted to ask about the therapist, the different types of
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
And it was something that I'm having a brain fart.
So we are moving into a couple of new, really exciting areas.
Okay.
We are going to be starting EMDR intensive work. So
Mhm.
now you're taking treatment that might have even EMDR is short to begin with,
Yep.
but maybe it was months, and you can bring your treatment right down into days.
Amen. How are we
Right.
doing that?
So that is by doing intensive work, maybe 3 hours, 6 hours a day of EMDR, or 3 days in a row
Yeah.
of like 3 or 6 hours a day. And you
Okay.
work on one targeted memory at a
Wow.
time,
Wow.
right? So it's pretty cool.
That is awesome.
The other piece that we're bringing in this summer is psychedelic assisted therapy. So with ketamine treatment.
Wow.
So ketamine is FDA approved. There's a lot of scientific research to show that it helps with depression, anxiety, bipolar, PTSD, resistant depression that doesn't work with anything else.
Wow.
Like meds aren't working. Super excited about that. And we're partnering with a med provider.
That's
to do that.
amazing.
So
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I've seen it actually do miracles for individuals, and it blows my mind because
Yeah.
again, this back in the 70s, it was used
Mhm.
for the veterans that came home from Vietnam, and Dr. Marsh out of Florida started with the ibogaine, and she said,
Mhm.
I can do this, and the FDA gave her funds to do it, and when they saw that it was working, they took away her funds, so she had to go start do her own thing. So that's congratulations for doing that. That's a bold step,
Mhm.
and good luck. And I would love probably you to come back after a year that's been in existence
Mhm.
and let us know how it goes. Definitely,
Yeah.
because again, you can't. It's something people have to go to Mexico for any
Right.
type of
Right.
long-term
Mhm.
5-7 day treatment for it.
Mhm.
And so wow, I look forward to hearing about that and learning more about it,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, we're excited about
It's
it.
very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, super cool.
So I also saw you brought a list of different
Yeah,
things that
so
are coming up. So do you want to tell
Obviously,
us about
in addition
that?
to this weekend with
Yes.
this event we have ongoing workshops and groups that we run out of our place up in Manchester. And
Which I visited, and it's very nice.
we try to make it cozy.
Yeah.
There's parking.
Yeah.
That was my first question. Is
Yeah.
there parking?
There's parking and it doesn't feel clinical.
Correct.
Yeah, we
It
try
does-
to.
it
Yeah.
feels
I mean, you
like
come
a
into
home.
my office and I have like a energy work table and
Mhm.
Buddha and
Mhm.
all kinds of things, whatever,
Yes.
fountains and
Mhm.
stuff. So,
Nice.
so we have a bunch of workshops coming up in June and July. Vincent's actually helping to co-lead a workshop for grief,
Yep.
which is great, but it's all kinds of grief.
Mhm.
Just basically working on, stepping into that loss and then finding yourself back to wholeness,
Mhm.
and utilizing yoga and storytelling and writing, journaling,
Mhm.
all
And
kinds of things.
Creating ritual around it too. So we'll have an altar set up and people will
Yeah.
bring artifacts that they want
Nice.
to serve as like a remembrance.
Yeah.
And how long of sessions is that going to be? Is it just one session? Of
It's one workshop. Yeah.
one
It's
workshop. Okay.
10 to 3, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
10 to 3
Yeah.
on June 4th.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Most of our workshops are one day,
Okay.
although we
Mhm.
will be having some multi-day ketamine retreats.
Yep.
So we have a voice workshop, which is going to finding your authentic voice
Yes.
Mhm.
using chant and music and mantras.
Mhm.
Nice.
So that's another one.
Awesome.
We are going to be doing a medicine, like a Native American medicine drum making
Mm.
class.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
working with actual hides of elk, deer, and bear, and doing ceremony around it while you actually make your own drum.
Well, when's that
So
one?
That one is June 17th.
Awesome.
That would be on a Saturday or Sunday. It's 10 to 5. So it's all
Nice.
day. We're having an exploring energy class. So anybody out there who is interested or curious about energy in
Yeah.
general,
Yeah.
this class will expose you to energy in 5 different ways.
Yeah.
Several, that you get to experience it, feel it. In addition to a really cool spoon bending exercise that everybody gets to participate in, where not like the Matrix where you
Use
bend it
your
with
mind.
your mind.
Yeah.
You're using your hands, but you can feel the energy. It's very cool. And
Awesome.
the people that do attend that will also be attuned to Reiki.
Nice.
So they will be able to give and Reiki to family and friends.
Nice.
We're having a breath work. That's actually next week. We have one in May and June.
Yep.
Breakthrough breath work. So it is a cyclical breath work exercise
Yep.
that can take you into an altered state of consciousness to help heal
Yep.
and release blocked emotions, help
Yeah.
with chronic pain. And that is, next Tuesday night.
Awesome.
And then in June as well. I'm super excited about that. We have a drum circle in July. I'm running a past life regression
on your
group.
drum circle,
Yeah.
will you be indoors or outdoors on your property?
Indoors.
Indoors.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an evening. We're going to have a big mother drum,
Yep.
and then other drums for people to play.
Okay.
And then
Awesome.
I'm going to run a past life regression experience.
Speak a little bit about that when you speak of past
Yeah.
life. What does that mean?
So you utilize hypnosis
Yes.
to go back into your previous lives.
Okay.
And the purpose, so they can be twofold. So I'll ask clients, like, do you want to just go for an experience and see what comes up, what universe brings to you?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go back and actually look for the root cause of a symptom or something,
Yeah.
that you're experiencing in your life now? Right. So
Hmm.
you can use it both ways. If someone's struggling with setting boundaries
Yeah.
or a people pleaser or something like that, we can go back into past lives and perhaps find that they exhibited the same behaviors in other lives. So that tells us that it started then and it just carried forward into this life.
Well,
So, and you can be born into this life already with some of these issues, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily happen in this life. Sometimes it does. But if you can go back and figure out the root, then you can often clear it then, and you will see that it clears in this life.
amen.
It's very cool.
Awesome.
And then let's see. And then we have Vincent, you had like a Qigong, Chinese medicine healing thing, and a mindful improv. And these are to be determined. We don't have dates yet, but they're
Okay.
going to be in July.
All right.
Yeah.
Some
What
fun
is that
stuff.
going to be?
Which one?
The
Mindful improv.
Qigong and Chinese medicine
So-
healing.
Yeah. So, are you familiar with Tai Chi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Qigong is similar to Tai Chi.
Okay.
Just Tai Chi has more of the martial art application,
Mhm.
whereas Qigong is more about moving energy from like meridian points.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a friend of mine is he's trained in that, and so he's going to be the person facilitating.
So
that one.
someone brand new doesn't have to know anything.
Yeah, perfect for because I even
Beginners.
asked him that. He said it's perfect for beginners, people that have no, even people who maybe have physical limitations. It's really, really great. He said for like increased circulation and mobility. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, any of our workshops, you don't have to have any experience.
Yeah.
They're all, and you're going to get something out of all of them.
Okay.
So
So where, if they're not on tonight, and where would one find your information? Do we have a website?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
have, and what is your website?
So it's www.bluelotus.
Let's get me over here and type it in www.bluelotus
Dash or hyphen.
Where's the hyphen on the keyboard? Did I do a hyphen?
No,
Nope.
there
Not
it
a
is.
hyphen?
There it is.
Yep.
Well, yes, wellness.com.
Perfect. Ooh,
And we're also on Instagram and Facebook. You can find us
awesome.
there too.
Awesome.
Oh, and then it's a US. So
Oh,
LOTUS.
hold on. www.bluelotus hyphen. Did I do the hyphen? Nope. Hyphen. Wellness.com.
You got it.
I have glasses on, so I
Yeah.
can't even
I
see if
know.
you're typing it
Does that look right?
That's right.
Perfect.
You got it.
Yeah, that's it.
So, if you're out there listening and you want to hear more about these two individuals, along with a beautiful, beautiful young lady, Brecken, who will be joining us on Saturday. We also have a woman that's coming to share a testimony. You want to be at the Lawrence Greater Voc this Saturday, 9:30 to 12, for an amazing event. They'll be networking with resources there. And we'll be learning about everything that Blue Lotus Wellness offers. And it's going to be a safe environment to ask questions. I know a lot of people, when they hear about EMDR, like they shy away because they don't know about it. So this is just a place to explore the different classes that you're opening, because mental health should be your number one priority every single day. Without that, again, if we're in a plane and it's crashing, like, you have to put that oxygen mask on yourself before you take care of someone else. And we're in a time of this world where people really need to focus on mental health to sustain a happy and healthy life. And so if you come this Saturday, you'll learn a lot about it. Again, it's at the Lawrence Greater Voc. It's going to be an amazing event. They have a presentation, they have live testimony, and at the end we will be raffling off some free gifts. So it's a win-win, and it's also going to rain on Saturday. So I'm hoping that brings in a lot of people to come on and see us, because you can't be sitting on the beach. So come see us. If you have any questions, please reach out to myself or Phil Leahy. And we just thank you for being here with us this evening. I thank you both for your time and sharing your talents with us this evening. And you will see Phil Leahy at the event, but also back here on the empty chair in 2 weeks. So if no one told you they loved you today, I love you. Have an amazing day, and good night, and God bless. Thank you, Lou.